Hello, welcome to the Political Vigilante. And I want to talk more about the DNC lawsuit because I came across this article in Life Zet magazine called Lawyers in DSC Class Action Lawsuit Perplexed by Media Blackout. Yeah, I haven't seen much about this at all. And I did a Google search and I saw there were some articles on Salon and people putting stuff on Twitter. But I saw one article in Newsweek. And I'll go into what that Newsweek article talks about. And the Newsweek article does more of this just we'll see what happens. But this really, it's amazing how much the media, the mainstream media, is not talking about the DNC lawsuit. And they're not talking about Flint or anything. I mean, it's just like Russia, 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 Russia. You know, Trump buys ice cream, Russia, Russia. You know, So, I mean, I keep seeing this story about the Saudis gave Trump steak and ketchup. Like, who gives a shit? Talk about what our real relationship with Saudi Arabia is. Talk about, one of the things Trump did in the primary was he blew up the Republican Party. He was saying stuff in those debates and on his campaign trail when he was before it became the general election, saying the Saudi had a lot to do with 9/11. He was like, why are we sending rockets overseas? He, in a debate, said to Jeb Bush, he goes, your dad, let Iraq happen. Your dad, 9/11 happened on your dad's watch. I mean, he said all this crazy inflammatory shit that he took the Republican Party apart. And now it's okay that he's meeting with the Saudis and he's playing ball with them and, he's helping get their pipeline through Syria and all this other stuff. So that's the media, the mainstream media just isn't covering any of that. I went through CNN's Twitter feed and I didn't see anything about Flint, nothing about Flint for sure. And they kind of just sort of mentioned this DNC class action lawsuit, but they're like, and it's, there's some lawsuit, they're not really unpacking it and going into why. And it's like, I'm going to read some stuff here. From the LifeSet article. I'll put both links below, which is, it's amazing. The attorney Cullen O'Brien, he said to this online, this seems like an important case, as important as you can get. And, he's really, they're perplexed. Like they thought, this should be getting a lot of media. Just like, I see that in Flint. Like when I was on Aggressive Progressive and you're watching Jordan's, and I know I mispronounced his name. I said Chambers. I think it's Charlton. Sorry. Him interviewing that guy from the city of Flint that's putting the liens on people's homes, and the guy just said, this is standard procedure, and then all the interview's over and walked away, and there's no other media there. And you would think the DNC lawsuit would just be like front page news, everyone's all over it. Nope, they're not. And it's unbelievable, because what they're doing is well, I'll read what the breakdown of this lawsuit. Most of you know this, but just to bring everybody up to speed. In the suit, Wilding versus DNC, the Sanders supporters and their attorneys claim Schultz and the Democratic National Committee defrauded them out of their money by pledging to be neutral when, in fact, the committee was working from early on to help Hillary Clinton and only Hillary Clinton. They accuse them of intentional, willful, wanton, and malicious conduct. They also accuse the DNC and its chairwoman, Wasserman Schultz, of negligent misrepresentation, violation of local District of Columbia law, unjust enrichment, breach of fiduciary duty, and negligence for failing to use and exercise reasonable and due care in obtaining, retaining, and securing the personal and financial information provided to them by people who donated. All right, so this was filed June 18 of 2016, after the leaked emails from the computers of the Democratic National Committee, published by hacker Guccifer 2.0, revealed the committee was working to promote the candidacy of Hillary Clinton from the very start, despite public pledges to remain neutral. In May 2015, a memo that was released, the committee laid out different methods of attack to muddy the waters around Clinton's vulnerabilities, methods that included working through the DNC to utilize reporters and generating stories in the media with no fingerprints. Well, there's your answer right there why the mainstream media isn't doing it. I mean, you saw this happen. You know, Wasserman Schultz came under fire last summer, resigned, and then was hired by the Clinton campaign. And the mainstream media was like, oh my God, what's going on? They're in the Clinton camp. And as I've said, the mainstream media is not liberal. They're corporate. They're just, the Clintons are not liberal. The Clintons are corporate people. They're pro-war, pro-banking, corporate people. And they use their arm, their propaganda arm, which is primarily CNN and MSNBC. But it's, and the leaks are the leaks. It's unbelievable, you know. And O'Brien also said, I wouldn't call this an election case, it's a fraud case. You don't have the right to take people's money under false pretenses. Yeah, it would honestly, it's just like if you know, I don't know, like like my Patreon page. If you were donating to my Patreon page and then I just didn't deliver the videos that I said I was going to give you, I didn't deliver the things I said I was going to do, and I just kept the money. Only instead of a couple $100 a month, it's, you know, 227 or whatever hundreds of millions of dollars that people donated to Bernie, and they went against their own charter. They have it in writing. You think this would just be like people, the media would be crawling all over this. I'm going to read some stuff from the Newsweek article. Now, the Newsweek article just asked these questions, and here's a great thing that was said by one of the God, this is unbelievable. Okay, so they interviewed this guy, Scott Bolden, a Democratic strategist and former chair of the DNC Democratic Party, and he said. He said that people shouldn't, the people on the left shouldn't be fighting the DNC. We should focus on the real enemy, Trump. There you go. That explains more of the media's thing, right? He said the DNC is not as dangerous as Donald Trump, Bolden tells Newsweek. Sanders supporters are forceful, they're vocal, but they haven't learned how to win yet. Because you cheated them. The importance of the DNC fraud lawsuit is that it shows they're trying to change the rules and regulations and the leadership of the DNC so they can win in upcoming elections. More of the DNC is so out of touch. Wasserman Schultz is asked to resign, right? And then she's hired by the Clinton campaign, and they don't see this as a problem. That's why they keep screaming, oh, Trump, Russia, Trump, Russia, Trump, 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 Russia, because they don't want to own any of this crap. They're just unbelievable. And she's been trying to dismiss the lawsuit. And it's the thing that they're so dumb is they want us all to resist Trump through them, through our donations and our time and voting for their candidates through their campaign. Well, I'm going to resist Trump other ways, not through them. And it's unbelievable. You know, this is a great point that a guy in the article makes. What if Apple went into court of law and said, we actually don't believe we have any enforceable obligations to our shareholders? What do you think would happen to the Apple stock price? Exactly. And people are bailing on the Democrats as well they should. But then this Bolden guy, who was just a corporate Democrat guy, saying, "Oh, we all got to get together for all hands on deck 2018." And I even see people on Twitter, when I go out on Twitter and argue against the Democrats or the DNC, the corporate side of the DNC, people are like, "Oh, Grant, what are you, Trumper? All hands on deck or whatever." It's like, no. And this is it's insane. If they were to just own it, they're like. This dumb guy Bolden says, you still have this lawsuit. You still have progressive factions who believe they and Sanders were wrong by the DNC. But at the end of the day, you can't prove he didn't get enough votes to beat Hillary because of the committee's actions. Yeah, I can. And your charter says this, Bolden. Your charter says you have to run a fair and even-handed primary. Your charter says this. And you took people's donations. Like, they don't get that. They don't see that what they did was wrong at all. And And all this, like, we got to come together, we got to come together. It's more just like, hey, stop the fighting. We'll figure it out later. Let's all come together. So you don't have to take responsibility. And this is more corrupt bullshit from the DNC. And then the corporate media isn't following it. The corporate media is not talking about this. It's unbelievable. You know, we got to fight for this. Fight for what? All this Tom Perez and we got to fight talk in this fucking Newsweek article. Fight for what? Your guys' ability to steal people's donation money and run your crooked election and get taxpayer money? So they can't play that, oh, it's a private thing. We're a private company. We can do what we want. No, you can't. Not when you get federal money and not when you're taking donations from people and saying, yeah, you know, best man win. Well, Bernie didn't get enough. Bernie didn't get the votes. The votes are okay. So this is more bullshit here. So this is another thing. Like, everyone's crying about the Republicans and their gerrymandering and their voter fraud, which they do. But the Democrats do this shit. They do it in their own primary. And I'm supposed to get behind the Democrats when they're just as fucking crooked as the Republicans? And in fact, but they fuck their own people. The Democrats fuck progressives. The Republicans are just, I have more respect for them in some senses because they're just upfront. We're rich, we're white, and we don't give a fuck about, you know, we just want tax breaks and oil and deregulation so we can, all our corporate buddies can make a bunch of money. And fuck everyone else. Fuck the poor. The Republicans are just flat out open about that. Okay. Versus, it's like somebody, a criminal is like, yeah, I'm a criminal. I steal shit. Yeah, I sell drugs. I break into people's houses. I'm a fucking criminal. Like, I guess they have a little more honor than the person that's like, I'm running a charitable organization. Then you find out they're taking their charity money and they're just fucking going to Vegas with it and getting hookers and blow. And I have more respect for the criminal. And that's the Democrats. They're the good guys. No, they're not. They're just as crooked as everybody else. And then the media is culpable in this. And that's why I think it's great you guys are supporting independent media, man. It's so awesome. So thank you for watching the show. I'll keep doing stories like this while the corporate media keeps hoping that you continue to drink their bullshit Kool-Aid and play their game.